And the aim was that we would become spies and we would spy on the Chinese Air Force. So I was a member of MI5. We were finally discovered. They published a hit list. I was on the top of it, one of them on the top of it, saying we're going to get rid of him. When I had COVID, one night I thought I died. I thought I'd gone. Well, I was the youngest child of three. I had a brother and an older sister. And I was born into a Christian home, Methodist Christian home. And from as far as I remember, going back, I went to Sunday school, I went to church, and later on I went to the Sunday evening service. So at the end of my time at home, I was doing 3 services a day in the Methodist church. I loved it. Sang in the choir too. At the age of 11, I passed the 11 plus exam, went to a grammar school, co-ed grammar school, extremely good school, played very well at sport, was captain of the football team, captain of the house team, and also at the end of the day a prefect. So I enjoyed school very much. I wasn't scientifically minded at all, so I studied on languages. I got the Spanish prize at school. I also did French too. And the Spanish prize obviously came in later into my life when I joined the Air Force. I left school after 1 year in the 6th form. My father was extremely ill. Our income was very low in the family, so I added to the income by going to work. A year later, I had to go into in the Air Force, National Service. I wanted to be a pilot, but not being scientifically minded actually proved their point. I went for aircrew selection. I was told not only would I kill myself, I'll kill others in the process. So that was the end of that ambition. I wanted to be a Spitfire pilot, end of vision. So, but then they said, well, what about languages? I said, well, I told them about the Spanish prize at school and French. They said, right, you're going to join the language school, and we're going to teach you either Russian or Mandarin. I said, I'll do Russian. They said, you'll do Mandarin. No choice. So off I went to the school, the language school in Bristol, the RF language school, extremely good, taught by highly skilled RF officers and 2 professors who had led the Mao Zedong Revolution. And they taught us everyday Chinese. The officers taught us very technical Mandarin. And the aim was that we would become spies and we would spy on the Chinese Air Force in Hong Kong from a mountain base in the middle of Hong Kong Island. How did I give my life to the Lord? Well, I was 18. I was in the Air Force. I'd been told I was going to go to Hong Kong, a long way from home. And a group called from Cliff College, the evangelical training college in Derbyshire, they came to do a big trawl of our hometown. And it was then that they had an altar call and I went forward. I gave my life to the Lord, despite all my 16 years before that, 18 years of being in a Christian family. It was a great experience. That got me through so many situations, that decision to give my life to the Lord. So off we went to Hong Kong for 9 months, and for 9 months I was selected to do a very special job, which was analysis of the material that my colleagues who were faced with huge radio sets, massive radio sets, were listening to every word the Chinese air-to-ground people were saying. And I would receive these reports and I would analyze them. I worked with a small team of RAF and Army team from Australia. And at the end of every day, we sent our materials down to Brisbane, which we believe was also going to MI5 in Cheltenham. So I was a member of MI5. We were finally discovered. In the process of my time there, I was with a small group of guys, some of whom were Christians. And that was a very, very positive time. Two reasons why it was positive. We met a lady called Gladys Aylward, who was a missionary, a China Inland Mission, and she brought 50 children all the way from North China down to the south in war-torn Japanese territory in China. And amazing. And we heard her story, and we asked her why did she do it, and she said three reasons. One is I pray, I have faith, and I'm committed. And at that point, the Lord said to me, "You're going to be a committed Christian worker." That was it. That's what he said to me. But added to that was one night we had a typhoon, which upset all sorts of things. It turned aircraft over at the Kai Tak airport. Ships went on the rocks. But more than that, going to work in the morning, up to the peak where we worked, there was a mass of people whose shacks had been swamped down the hillside. And I saw these people there, older people, mothers and families and children. They'd lost everything. And that really hit me hard. And I said, "Lord, I've got to do something." He said, "Well, you can't do it here, but I've told you you're going to be a Christian worker." So I had my exit interview with our flight commander, and he said, "Look, I'm going to recommend you for a commission." We were not commissioned. We had an upside down stripe which said we were junior technicians, linguists. We're always regarded as a very odd organisation, this small group of linguists. And in the camp, when we walked into the camp for the first time, the whole camp turned out and hissed and booed us and called us the girls. "The girls are here," they said. Well, we lived that down long enough, and we had enough of it one day. We decided to take these guys on, these wireless operators who didn't understand who we were, what we were, but we were, as far as we were concerned, they were a group of girls doing the sort of funny things that we did up the mountaintop. Anyway, we decided we were going to take them on at football. We used to watch them play football. We said, right. So we put a little team together. We took them on, and we beat them 5-2. Never again was the word girls mentioned. Never again. So we put that to bed. We beat them. We beat the opposition. Anyway, then, so the commander said, well, he said, "You've done an extremely good job here. Recommend you for commission." I said, "Look, sir, I'm going home. I'm going to work in Christian ministry somewhere." So I came home, and I got a transfer from ICI in the northwest down to the head office in London, Westminster. And it was then that I came down to see my brother at college in London. I'd never been to London in my life. And I met him, and in the process met Chris, my now fond love. And and that was it, really. And then I wanted to be a probation officer, and the Home Office kept waiting too long, and I then had to, I said, "No, enough's enough." And I'd been talking to a probation officer, a well-known probation officer in London, and he said, "Look, the Methodist Church, Dr. Donald Soper, the West London Methodist minister, has got he's got a new project off the ground. It is running a centre for people with alcohol problems. First in the country, no one else is doing it." He said, "Get in there and do it." So I applied for the job, I got it, I was the deputy manager of this centre for 5 years. During that time, Chris and I got married. Chris actually gave up her work in the courts and came to work with us. But 5 years later, Dr. Soper Lord Soper then, came to us and said, "Look, I think it's about time you young people moved on to things new." So I got a job with mental health social work with Lambeth Council in the middle of Brixton, right in Jamaican territory in the middle of Brixton. And that was my patch. From there, I was asked to set up a special project with the Institute of Psychiatry, London University, it was a special project. It was a therapeutic community, just an experiment about how to run it. I was the only worker there, and I was supervised by a professor of psychiatry, a addiction specialist, and we did this work for 4 years. Fantastic. I then went to the staff college, I'm rambling, social work staff college, and did a year's training in management and also community development. That was an interesting course. That opened the door for me. I then went into local government management, was an assistant director in Haringey Social Services, and then eventually came to Southwark as deputy director, and then ultimately I was director of social services at the end of my time in Southwark, 14 years there. During that time I had one remarkable experience, 7 extremely good years with a local authority councillors, very committed people. Back in 1980, there was a massive switch in politics, and an ultra-left-wing group got into Southwark, and they just turned the tide. They published a hit list. I was on the top of it, one of them on the top of it, saying we're going to get rid of him, and along with others. They didn't achieve it, but increasingly our work was to manage was virtually impossible to do a professional job. They were evil people. They didn't know how to run anything. Every decision we made, the trade unions would take it to the councillors, and the councillors overturn our decisions. That's how it was. So in the end, with the 2 colleagues, my 2 assistant directors, we said we're going to pull the plug on this. Either they allow us to go to the police and the press, or we demand an independent inquiry into corruption in this authority. Saw the chief executive, who was actually one of them, and she said, well, if you go to the press, you go to the police, we'll sack you. I said, fair enough. An independent inquiry, or else I will lose my job and I will go to the press and the police. And she gave in, and we did get an independent inquiry. This independent inquiry actually found in favour of me and us and ours, and against the councillors and the trade unions. And I got a call from the producer of Newsnight, BBC Newsnight programme, Monday night viewing, 8 o'clock viewing, to say we've had a report given to us, you've not seen it yet, they can't touch you. Will you come and tell us about your experience in this with these people? So I did. But in the process, I was sitting in my office, and the Lord said to me, go now, you've played your part, leave it to me. No one there. The voice was very clear. I looked around, I thought, no. Lord, I said, Lord, I've got work to do. He said, leave it to me, go now. I picked my bag up and I never went back. And that was the end of my time in 14 years of really tough work in local authority, but victorious. So, thank you, Lord, for that. I then went to run a council for voluntary service in Bromley for 4 years, did some very good creative development work in the local authority voluntary organisations, and then was asked to join Mission Care, Christian charity, nursing homes, care homes charity in Bromley, who said, we want to move into the 21st century, will you help us? So I took the job on. There for 11 years, built some brand new homes, new buildings, fantastic new buildings, and then that came to an end. I officially retired from Mission Care, but then I ran the Ichthus alcohol and drug project in Brockley for 3 years, did some very good work there. took all the guys to church every Sunday into Ichthus. And that was the time when Ichthus broke up as a leading growth Christian church. So at one time, me and the clients from our project were the largest number of people attending Forest Hill Ichthus. Remarkable time. From there, I did 3 years there, and then I went to run an organisation called SAFA, the Armed Forces Charity in Greenwich. I wasn't paid. I was the manager for 14 years. And I did some remarkable development work with the Gerry community from Nepal, the old veterans, and that took me into another set of quotes retirement, but I've not finished yet. Well, we're in the Methodist Church in Forest Hill. Our daughters were in Sunday school, and they said, "Mum and Dad, this isn't what we want in Sunday school." So we went to a local Baptist church in Forest Hill Road, and we were there for a year, and that church split. And the pastor there told us to leave, get out of it, he said, go to another church, because this is rather painful. So we went to Herne Hill Baptist Church, and I was there, one of the deacons in the Baptist church there, and that church split too. Very painful business indeed. And we said, well, where do we go from here? And Jane, our youngest daughter, said, well, Mum and Dad, what about Ichthus? Because she'd had friends who were going to Ichthus. And so we said, right, okay, we'll go. We went to Ichthus. That was 1982. Yeah, and we went to Ichthus. And for 9 months, I sat at the back of the church. I didn't want anything to do with anybody. It had been so painful in those 2 previous Baptist churches. Oh. Well, the minister of the Methodist Church, which we left in Forest Hill, he came to us. We said, we're going to a Baptist church. He said, have you come back to your senses yet? He said. That was his words to us. So that was that. Yes, so that was, yeah. So we came to Ichthus, yeah. Remarkable place to be, remarkable. Ichthus was blessed with a very powerful group of leaders, led by Roger and Faith Forster, but Ray Mayhew and John Presley and others. Remarkable group who, and as soon as I took the issues that I was facing in my work in Southwark to them, they were with me. And I used to meet with Ray Mayhew every week, had an hour with him every Wednesday, away from my job, just bringing things to him. And he would take things to the church leadership body, and then they would call me in and we would have time of prayer. We saw some incredible changes and attitudes. At one point, I lost my memory for three weeks. Horrific. And I was working with a professor of psychology at the university and doing some work with him. And he gave me one of his psychologists for a day, and he said, look, go and talk with him. And the conclusion was, Gerry, not only is your mind stopping, but it's had enough. It can't tolerate with this abuse you're taking every day from your employers and the trade unions. It's saying enough's enough. Don't worry about it. You're not mad. And it went. But during that time, I could not tell anyone I was losing my memory. Couldn't, no. But I had prayer for it. That's where the Ichthus team were superb. And I met with them for 7 years. 7 years we had. Talk about the biblical 7 years, 7 good years, 7 awful years, so that's how I recall that. But the church, the leadership were fantastic. And of course, with our children loved Ichthus. Chris and I loved Ichthus, and we brought people into Ichthus. We met many remarkable friends there, yeah. I'd say, look, there's one thing we need to learn in life is discipline. And having learned discipline, you understand respect. And in understanding respect, you learn teamwork, how to work together, to understand each other, to share and so on. So that's how I would see building up. I would want to build up a young group of people who say, look, respect authority, understand discipline, and understand teamwork, and you'll grow. Yeah. So, yeah. And then pray for each other. Yep. Pray for simply pray whatever comes into you. Don't hesitate. Pray it. Yeah. Well, you know, here I am. So I've had two remarkable experiences of healing. Three remarkable experiences of healing, and I love sharing those stories of healing with men who are not Christians. And I just tell them a story about. They actually say to me, "That was a miracle. That was a miracle." I say, "It was a miracle, yes." And these are guys. One of them is from the Pakistan community, and he's not a very good one. He's not a very good member of the faith, but we talk to each other, take him out for meals. Yeah, so I want to get closer to men, to use this remarkable experience the Lord has given me, and not only the experience of in the work situation, but the experience in the prayer support situation I had from the church. Learn from that, use that power that I was taught there and shared with me, and also the power that I received in my employment situations. Different, yeah. I want to share those. I have prostate cancer. I've no desire yet to leave this world, so I intend carrying on until the Lord said, "Well, that's enough." In the past, I thought the Lord, when I had COVID, one night I thought I died. I thought I'd gone. Not to be, no. I'll just tell you a story very quickly. I'd not had any food for a month. I just had to take water. I'd lost all my use of my body. My limbs are gone. My muscles are gone. And I was in bed and I couldn't do anything with myself. I had nappies and all sorts of things. Anyway, Sarah, my daughter, and Chris were looking after me. One night I thought I'd gone. And so I said to Chris, just whisper to her, get the ambulance. And she said, well, Steph Nash and your Martin and three doctors said to her, whatever you do, don't let him go to the hospital. You never see him again. He'll disappear. So she said, well, that's what they say. I can't get the ambulance. I'm not letting you go. So she phoned Steph Nash, and he'd been working with people in the hospital with COVID. And he said, he listened to me. He said, God, he's in a poor state. Breathing was awful. And he said, look, let's pray. He said, I think he'll last an hour, then we will have to call the ambulance. They prayed, the word got out, went round, daughter in South Africa, they were praying for me there. And within half an hour, I was breathing beautifully, amazingly. Now, tell guys that story. I said, look, you can make of it what you like, but that was a miracle. I was told I'd never be seen again and went to hospital. And here I am telling you the story now. So I want to use those sort of stories to give people hope, that things can change. With prayer, things can change and things will change. The words to me, you will be a Christian worker, have remained with me, and he's been honest and true with me all the way through. And here I am, still seeking the Lord's will and his work for me. So I'm just saying grateful to the Lord for his remarkable leading from that time as a Christian, young Christian in a Methodist church to a man leaving the Air Force, and then through my work in local government and the power of the support that I had from Roger Force and the team in Ichthus was staggering, and that really got me through. And we won. The Lord's battle, the Lord led us in battle and we won it.